Gimbel,
Here.
Jason Bunny,
Present.
James Carley,
Present.
Patrick Killian,
Present.
Stephen Lovell,
Here.
Paul Riddle.
We have music tonight?
Agenda? Any corrections to the agenda?
Move to accept.
Motion by Jason,
Second.
second by Jim Harley. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes of the previous meeting.
Just need to correct my name.
Sorry,
Bill.
spell check didn't get that.
7.
Okay, pardon?
You called me 7. Instead
Oh.
of Steve.
Oh, I see it up you got it one place all right. It's,
Yeah.
At the top here, okay.
Yeah,
That's in there once.
yeah,
Whatever.
partially right. Is that, then you're gonna make a motion once he corrects that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll
Motion by Steve, second by Piper.
I will second that,
All right.
if we got his name spelled right.
Yeah, we gotta have that.
Yeah.
He just wants to make sure you're reading it.
Yeah, that's right. At least you know now you're reading it.
Better look at it.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Actually, Nelson, we need so.
Solid waste report. Chuck?
Okay, it's part of your handout after the minutes. I think it's part of the first part of that. We have the synopsis to it. It's fairly similar to past ones. Just a quick review. The August 7th date was just MPDS results from July, which were some of the other ones. August 11th was a follow-up to a similar report you had in July, or in August for July, which was some correspondence sent to some of the area private well owners regarding their private well sampling results. With no changes in those results from the past. Those come through on a quarterly basis. They do rotate some of the private wells, but some of them are the same. October 17th was Andrews was asked. I reported to you a couple months ago that they had submitted a closed closure. This is the bonding they have with the IPA to, if they would abandon the landfill today, there's some money there for them to close and have post-closure care of it. The EPA didn't like some of their costs they had in regards to the gas monitoring costs, semi-annual sampling of groundwater lists, and their leachate management costs. They corrected those and resubmitted it, so it's basically the same. The August 21st one is the Clean Air Act permit program report for July 26th through August the 17th. It's fairly similar to other ones. Flare system shutdown starts up, mostly maintenance and issues. There have been no power outages in that time period. The August 22nd one had to do with the MPDS results for the first quarter. This one's a little bit different than the other MPDS ones. And this one has some checklists on it. And this one is where they make reference to where they're cleaning the inlet pipes caused by sedimentation. This is generally for the water that's not leachate but hits the side of the hills that are covered, goes down to the interior ditches and then goes into the ponds. Since there's still a lot of dirt covers on it, the dirt goes down into the ditches clog up with sedimentation to culverts, so the water is not getting from point A to point B to get to the pond. So there's sedimentation in, so they clean out that sedimentation every once in a while, and that was their correction in regards to that. August 30th, the CEC had a copy of the landfill gas migration results, and there was no detections of high concentrations of methane. That's where they go along the perimeter on a gator and measure it, and didn't find anything in that case. The next page, the second one from the bottom, I need to go back up to that. The August 23rd one on page 1, where there's wanting alternative compliance timelines for wells, gas wells, EW 192, 193A, and 140A. And this is where they're planning on installing a new header and some pump repairs. And they need time for all the planning corrective actions to take place. This is basically where they have a fall program set in where they're gonna come in and do the repairs to the gas system this fall. They're repairing this header at that point in time. The last well, the 140A, it had a bad pump in it. They put a new pump in it, but since it pumps butane gas, it takes a while for it to settle down and get down to where it needs to be. So we're in the EW 182, 183A had high, well, all three of them had high temperatures. So that's why they're on this alternative compliance list. They weren't terribly high. 131 is the mark, and they're up in the 132 to 136 range is kind of where they're at. Then turning to the second page, the top one for September 1st is, well, EW 211 had high temperatures. In this case, this is where they're actually doing the filling on top of D, and they did indeed run over a crush, a header, and they have to replace that this fall as part of the mitigation of those issues. Their plan is to finish putting waste on the top of D this fall, early winter, then get down low, and they do so it's not blowing around during this winter. And once they finish on D, they're done. That's going to be, I mean, it's going to settle down a little bit, but that's going to be their
It's
top.
final cap.
That's going to be their top elevation. It's not the final cap, but that's their top elevation for that. So once they get back in and work on this gas system, it should hopefully take care of a lot of problems with some issues they have with the gas system, since they're not going to be going back and forth, and it's got to have cover and everything else in regards to that.
Is that where the settlement's coming from too?
Some of it is, yeah. September 11th, Cornerstone provided an electronic copy of their monthly well field data for August. What this reflects is generally the wells you see there and some other ones that have had the high temperatures in the past. And it's reflecting it. It also gives the percentages of wells that are having positive pressure instead of negative pressure and stuff like that, but it's the temperatures that are kind of come in to compete. I'll get to that in a minute here. Streeter area landfill. These are the same in the past. You have two reports, August 14th and September 6th reports are from Andrews in regards to their gas well issues or monitoring. In both August, September, July, June. Before that, this gas well X309 continues to reflect some high methane amounts. Part of this has to do with, I think it needs some repairs. The gas company that's contracted to run the gas system in Streeter is on the verge of possibly leaving the facility, so it's a matter of who wants to spend the money to correct it, type of thing. Is one of those issues. Plus, they got to find out exactly what's going on with it. You know, is methane coming from the trash or from a coal mine below it, or whatever the case may be? Because this landfill is built on top of coal mines.
When's it scheduled to?
It's November or December of this year is when they're supposed to have a report on 309.
So that needs to be fixed.
Somebody has to go in and get a plan and make it out and fix it. That's what they need to do. That's right, yeah. And then the middle one of those two reports, for the August 28th one, is what I reported to you a month ago, is where they said they had some dissolved zinc levels that were high in G102. Well, they went back and did a second testing to make sure that that was the case, and they did confirm that the zinc in that one well is high. So that's that. Also, part of your report, you got some of the copies of the reports from Deegan and Associates. I think the first copy I had to you is it's got the Livingston landfill submitted reviews on top. And what I wanted to point out to you is that top on the August 23rd one goes back and it goes over that requested alternate timeline for the three wells I mentioned before. And it goes in a little bit more detail with the review notes as far as looking at the gas wells and looking at the temperature exceedances, the vacuum, and so forth. And at the end, the last sentence is the high temperatures and the absence of the elevated oxygen levels are not a significant concern. So they're looking at them also, is what I'm trying to say, and that's the report in regards to that. So, because sometimes I question them on some of these things, and they have to relax me a little bit on some of these things, and that's kind of what they're doing in regards to that.
On the August 21st, this 15 days at 131 degrees, they don't show a lot of concern with that, or not really until it goes over that for a longer period of time, or?
Yeah, I mean, I brought all the reports here, and they get into the real technical, it's the thermologic pathogenization of the waste is basically, is what they get into. The waste is primed for decomposing.
Yes.
So in that case, it's getting off a lot of heat anyway, just because it's in the prime of its decomposing project, so it's the natural process of it doing, it's creating.
So it's not on fire.
It's not on fire.
No.
And then basically, you can look at it, it's just a lot of the information that I've kind of given to you in their comments in regards to that, so.
Well, at one time there was concern about, there was burning below the surface.
Yeah, that was EW 173, and they found, I think I reported last month on that they found a coupler or something that was bad, so that's gonna have to be part of the repairs going in too, but yeah, that was an issue.
When they start talking repairs, Chuck, how
Yeah.
deep do they usually need to go to repair some of this stuff?
It's however deep the line is, it's generally between 4 and 20 feet.
Gotcha.
Depends on how much waste they put on top of it and where it's at and everything else.
To get to where the
To get to where it's at. I mean, they keep, since Andrews is out there doing their quality control, all that stuff is surveyed and has elevations and everything else on it, so they know where it's at. It's not a surprise to them.
They know where the problem is at in those cases.
Well, if they take a camera, they take it in, then that kind of
Gotcha.
finds
Yep.
out far that goes.
Perfect.
Sure. The second document you had from Deegan Associates is their submittal reviews for this Streeter area landfill. Again, just the top couple of, you've had these before, so I just gave you the most recent dates on these. The first tops, 2/8, 28, and 8/14 are the ones that address this past month. The 8/21 is the one that's looking at the zinc in regards to that. They just make a note that the exceedance is 120, which is below the groundwater quality standard for class 1 potable resource groundwater of 5,000. So it's not it's high, but it's not a concern. It's way off the concern level as far as those issues go. Then the second one is getting back into addressing the 309 particular issues. If you look at the last two sentences in their paragraph under review notes and so forth, they acknowledge what I just said, that further evaluations are being made to determine the source of the confirmed exceedances. And methane is not required to be reported for purpose X307 from that permit. So they're looking at it, needs to be continued to look at that. So that's what they have in regards to that. Then you have a copy of the host fees that were submitted in August for July. These fees came in a little bit below from what we got the previous year, I think even from the previous month, but it's not unexpected at this point in time. They are bringing a little bit less waste than they are this year than they have been in the past. But they're on a budget, so they have to keep to their budget. So these host fees should come in fairly close to where they are. Any more questions?
Okay. There's the consideration and update of the Livingston County All Hazards Mitigation Plan.
Okay. I emailed to you the two reports, and then I got copies of both reports in your packet this evening. We discussed this over the last couple of months. Number one, you decided that it would be worth to put an RFP out, and I did so. And we got two responses back. It was published in the paper, Pontiac paper twice, and I had 3 requests for the RFP to be sent out. And I sent out a 4th request to the consultant that helped us with it before, so it was out to 4 different consultants in regards to that. In response to what we sent out, you have 2 good submittals were sent back to you. One's from the American Environmental out of Springfield, and the second one is Two Rivers Emergency Management, which is out of San Antonio, Texas. The Two Rivers, if you're going to look at Two Rivers, I probably would ask that we resubmit that, because if you look through the document, they're acting as if they're going to do an entire new all hazards plan. In fact, they're starting from scratch instead of just updating it. However, their bid did come in lower than the American Environmental one. The American Environmental one is the one that is in line with what we were seeking as far as the updating of the plan, is basically going back and recreating the planning committee we had originally, and then basically going through the existing plan to see what's there. And then the key parts of it is with the consultant is to make sure that we're complying with the FEMA results in regards to that. The purpose of the plan is this. I brought a copy. I know I brought it once. If you want to see it, it's here. Is that during each hazard there is, like if Illinois would be granted federal declaration for the hazard with the flooding that takes place up in the northern part of Illinois, 10% of the money that they get for that is dedicated to mitigation. And the mitigation can be spread out through the entire state. It doesn't have to be limited to those 4 counties that are applying for that money, which they probably don't get, but they apply for it. And then there is a open period generally during the fall that allows for people to open up and seek mitigation money in order to do that. A lot of mitigation money would be like if there's homes that are flooded on a regular basis, which happens in the city of Pontiac. You can get funds to purchase that home, you demolish the home, and that lot basically becomes a park. It cannot be built upon. That's a lot of the, I mean, it goes into any other mitigation area you want, you know. I know that there's been talk about, can there be a larger drainage ditch in certain areas of the county to make it work, or can you put culverts underneath, railways or abandoned railways to make drainage work in regards to those issues. So probably look more at mitigation flooding than it is anything else in regards to that. So that's in regards to that. That's what that is. So you have the 2 proposals before you. The Two Rivers came in. Said cheaper at $36,338.75, and then the American Environmental came in at $48,187. So you have a difference of roughly $12,000. The reference in the American Disposal is they have worked with some of the Illinois counties, so they have some experience working in Illinois. They would be looking at helping us with preparing the grant, and this would only be a situation where we only contract in if we get the grant. We're not going to be paying for this on our own. One of the issues that if you look at the American Environmental is that in the other offer, though I think they kind of reference a little bit with the grant program and American Environmental. The Two Rivers one does make reference that they'd help assist in the in-kind match contributions from us to them. This is a matching grant. I think it's 80-20. 20% would be us matching it. The 20% would be from a group of people from the planning group that would be attending meetings. It'd be my hours and so forth like that. I would, if you take that one, I want that statement put into any agreement we have with them, because I almost have to become a lawyer and say, okay, I worked so many hours on this day, and it becomes a little bit, how many in-kind hours did I put towards this project that particular time? And I started on it and worked an hour on it, and then 6 phone calls and something else, and I come back to the end of the day, and it's kind of hard to keep track of it. That would help in regards to keeping any kind of issues in regards to that. I'd also have to confirm the Two Rivers one and providing the final document, or they'd get an electronic one. They'd be giving us just one set of document to the county and to each participating municipality goes with it too. I'd want probably more copies of in regards to that, and I'd have to confirm the number of copies of whoever we look at, so. And I'm not too sure how you work with somebody out of Texas. I mean, they say they have connections and stuff like that, but it's more difficult to work with people out of Texas probably than locally, I'm not sure. But
Chuck, do they already planned like for all the pipelines and stuff? I mean, we're a major pipeline carrier.
pipelines have, they have their own separate plans, yes.
So we're not involved in that.
We would be involved, we would be called. We would be involved in it, yes.
There's a leak.
Or an explosion.
We've had 2 explosions. I mean, the natural gas pipeline that we have 2 running around through the county. But it blew in the Acona gas plant.
Did they notify you?
I didn't know about that one. And then the one in Pontiac. And, you know, as far as gas ones are concerned, they're fairly simple. You know, things burn out. I mean, they went in Acona, the guy across the street is the one that reported it. He knew enough to get out of there. I think it was in the middle of the night. And I think it had 30-foot high flames, so kind of.
Yeah, that'd draw your attention.
Yeah. The one in Pontiac was a feeder line. It was on their property, but it was a feeder line into one of the wells that goes down to push it into the ground, and it burned. And you know, so but you know, you shut off valves and you let it burn out. I mean, that's the simplest thing with regards to those. So that makes it a bit. We do have a lot of pipelines, and it's always been a consideration. I mean, I've been to a lot of pipeline safety meetings. They'll kind of give you the same. What are the signs of it? Who do you report it to? And they're pretty good about it. They can respond. And Enbridge actually has quite a bit of assets in the area that they can respond to something pretty quick.
I figured they did.
Yeah.
I didn't know how involved you got in that.
As much as I would have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not very, you know, generally they're pretty cooperative because they know that there's a lot of public relations in regards to that. So that they're gonna come in and they're gonna stop and clean it up as best and as fast as possible.
When I looked these over, I mentioned you, I saw where they were willing to provide or prepare a grant application to pay for their work. Mm-hmm. And that they had done, I'll say, quite a bit of local, I'll call it local work. Mm-hmm. But in Two Rivers, I didn't find this, what you're talking about, this 80-20.
That's not stated in there.
Oh, okay.
It's not stated. It's not stated in either one. I'm just telling you.
Well, it is said here.
Is it okay?
That on the first page, preparing of a grant application, right at the bottom, preparing a grant application to fund this plan, update is service supply charge. We anticipate that no local money will be needed for the grant match.
Right, yeah.
But the other one doesn't say anything about, it says that they will help you write a grant for, let's say if you have a problem.
If you'd want to go beyond and try to get a grant for mitigation, they would help you to get that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it shows how much money that they have acquired or helped get for various things over whatever period of time, I don't know, but several $100,000. But it didn't, you know, even though the one's more expensive, it looked to me like it would basically cost the county nothing, and they both have life experience. You have sent something to Two Rivers that, so they don't, because what they're talking about here is starting from scratch and just writing a plan.
They got the same RFP as everybody else got, so.
Oh, so they just basically didn't follow it.
Why do you feel personally, when you deal with them more than any of us, where do you see this $12,000 difference? I mean, how can they be basically gonna be doing the same job, we assume, to be $12,000 difference? Where do you think that, where's the big savings on this Two Rivers?
I'm not well, American Environmental, which is the more expensive one, if you look at it, they're gonna take longer. I mean, they're gonna take their time and kind of spread it out over a longer period of time. So I guess to answer your question, my first assumption, since they don't line this out line item by line item, is it's gonna cost us more because they're gonna take more time to do it. Be quite honest about it.
Training programs.
You know, that's gonna take them 16 months compared to 345
60 days.
45 days, yeah.
So it's, I think there's a difference as far as those two issues. I think that just my quick
It's the biggest
glance, my
difference.
quick glance is that, you know, you have different time periods and
And it looks, when I look at this, it looks like they take their time, not gonna hurry and hit everything, hit all the little dots that they should.
Well, the part I looked at is that one's gonna cost us $36,000, the other one's gonna cost us nothing.
Well, the way I understand.
Yeah, basically, yeah, when you,
So,
well, somebody's gonna pay it.
well, you'd have
well,
to,
yeah,
we'd have to rewrite it. That's what I said. If you're gonna use them, you go back in and say, okay, you're gonna write the grant, help us write the grant request and stuff like that. You'd have to go back in and
They know it's
alter-
available, they know the
you have-
steps
you
to
have
get
you
it,
have to
so
alter the
they're gonna
request
have,
to make
they
that work.
should do that to make sure that we get.
With Two Rivers is what you're talking about, Patrick, or you're talking about the other one?
saying,
American.
American?
American would, I mean, for the $12,000 that we're gonna pay them, it's gonna take a longer period of time, but they should make sure that we get all the work we needed, assistance we need to get these,
everything they quoted here should be
Yes.
included.
yes.
You need a motion tonight, Chuck?
It probably would help because the grant program is opening.
Looks to me like American's the better one.
And which one do you want, Chuck? Which one have you had experience? You've had experience with American.
I've not had experience with American itself.
Okay.
One of the key personnel, Greg Machado, he actually was part of the team that put this one together. He worked for, he was a consultant, another consultant in regards to that, so.
So there is some familiarity.
There is some continuity as far as that is issued. Yeah.
I would move that we, entertain American Environmental with the stipulation, I guess, that they
Perform.
make sure they perform, that we have access to all the grants and aids and extra funding that should be available to us.
I just asked that they resubmit it then.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
that would have to
resubmit
be
it.
resubmitted as far
Yes.
as those issues go, and then you could sit down and take a look at the two of them at that particular time.
I was gonna say, should we just ask them to resubmit? And go as far as that tonight
Yeah,
and
maybe
get,
that, yeah.
You're asking both of them to resubmit? Is that what you're suggesting,
That's
Chuck?
up to you.
Well, if,
Well, I'll rescind that then.
okay, if they
Yeah.
followed everything, if everything is included here that we wanted,
Mhm.
and they're gonna help us write the grant,
Mhm.
even though it's more expensive, plan.
Right.
If
It's
we
not-
get the grants, it's not gonna cost us,
Right,
the $12,000 is nothing.
Is it gonna cost us 20% then?
In-kind time. It's my 80 hours I put into the project, and then
Okay.
there's, there'll be 8, hopefully more, but probably 8 different towns and other officials involved in it. And they'll go to whatever meetings they outline, there 5 or 6 meetings, a couple hours a meeting, that's, 16 hours a person, times 8, so you're getting some in-kind hours that get involved in it.
So you're saying that even with American, you need that 80-20, that's the way the grant is gonna be written.
Yeah, they're just gonna help make sure we meet that in-kind.
Okay.
And it sounds like if the grant process is gonna be starting soon, We kinda need to be
Active.
deciding tonight which one you wanna go with. Because we don't wanna lose out.
So I would go back then and move that we go with American Environmental with all their assistance and help to acquire the grants. You're right.
Basically, if we don't get the grant,
So we don't pay.
we don't proceed.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
The cost to update this plan is expected, the cost to update the plan. It's paid through a federal grant,
Yeah,
just to update it.
yeah.
The line before that says the cost, okay, to update it, okay, all right. Then that's right then.
Second.
Okay, Justin second. Patrick motion. Any further discussion?
So, the motion on the floor is to accept American Environmental
Your plan.
under the understanding that they have to resubmit,
No,
okay,
No, that they help us get our, grants, which are gonna be opening up.
And if we don't
Very
get them,
soon.
we won't,
If we don't get them, then
we won't proceed.
we do not proceed.
yeah.
Is that all right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, C, committee update on status of meetings time. Oh. Last night, we had a meeting, the ZBA had a meeting. And, a person from up in Dwight made he's an ex-fireman, I think, made a presentation regarding safety. And this has to do with the windmills, of course. And his quote testimony is basically from different stuff that he read. That even though he is a safety person for Grundy County, he has nothing to do with the windmills. He don't even know what the setbacks are for the windmills in Grundy County. Nor did he know what the ordinance is up there. So, I was surprised that he was allowed to testify because of his, I'll call it lack of credentials, not really. But he had quite a bit of things. Yeah, one of his main topics was on lightning striking a windmill and the potential there, and he had some safety data sheets on things that he had what do you call it, Boyd asked for what the windmill people had up there, and they had sulfuric acid and an oil and different chemicals they had. Lead, it could be. But he was asked what the quantities were, and he didn't know, nor would they tell him. And as one of the board members said, that those kind of chemicals you have every day. In fact, when I drove my vehicle down here, I have sulfuric acid in the battery, I have gasoline in the tank, I have in the radiator, I have antifreeze that's poisonous. A safety data sheet on my vehicle would probably say you probably shouldn't be driving it.
Well, how about some of these tanker trucks?
Yeah.
They're loaded with.
But anyway,
Probably
one of the newer members said that there was he had not attended a couple of meetings because he was new. And so he asked some questions about it, and Chuck said he had given him the minutes, all of the minutes of every meeting, but I think he had it in a packet yay thick and couldn't identify which one was the minutes of a previous meeting.
The first meeting, not the previous, but just the first meeting.
Oh, first meeting, okay, thank you. And the other thing that they were suggesting is that he be brought up to date on previous testimony, previous to Chuck and us coming back to the ZBA and explaining our suggested changes. So I asked Chuck, you know, that, because there was one of those packets that we have that has where these recommendations came from. By, you know, the one that we worked with when we put it up here and went through and made suggested changes or agreed with what they presented. And I look back through that, and the UCLC or the ZBA were listed on every one of the, except for two of the recommendations, without really any, what do you call it? I wouldn't say professional, but with any people that, anybody that given, supporting that. Now, at the hearings, we heard supporting all this, but not in that document. So I don't know how he could ever be, let's say, completely brought up to date on everything because he wasn't here. But the other thing applies to the ZBA people. They never attended our ag meetings, so I don't know how they know what we talked about or what we went through in order to make the recommendations that we made. But anyway, the suggestion was made that the previous ZBA member, Gerber, who was an attorney in Fairbury, who went at the meeting where they made those recommendations, basically led the meeting. I mean, they had the meeting out here around a little round table, and he got up and got at the podium and just went on and on and on. We were here, we heard it. The thing we didn't have is we didn't have anybody to present the other side. So I don't know, I guess my thought was, should his testimony be allowed? And I don't know that we can stop it. But I guess I wanted this committee to know that right now there's a suggestion, they're planning on having him at the next meeting to present testimony regarding the, and I don't know what testimony he can do other than what he presented that night out here, which is saying that, you know, they wanted this, we want that, they wanted this, we want that kind of thing. So, but I thought that you should be aware that at the next meeting, which is Monday the 18th at 7:30, he will be here, and the ZBA will again be going over.
Oh, we think so.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Do they ask for credentials? I mean, usually you say, well,
anyone can talk, Adam. You
Yeah.
can't stop anyone in the county. I mean, they have a right to testify.
well, I understand that.
When I
But I
started.
mean, you still.
When I started making my presentation, Patrick, they wanted me to have some experts. Where are you getting this information from?
Yeah.
What proof have you that this is going to?
Credentials of some point.
Yes.
Type
Yeah.
verified.
Not that you're chairman of the ag committee,
Yeah.
but what expertise, what do you have? And so basically they ruled that I was not prepared, did not have, and I went in there, I guess, not knowing that I had to prepare at that level. I was there to kind of explain what the ag committee were presenting know that I had to be have that kind of documentation to support anything that I said. So anyway, I would think that it'd be advisable if, for whoever can, to be here and hear that, what's said. At least we then show that we're willing to attend their meetings and hear what's said and know why they're making these kind of recommendations or decisions, even though they haven't reciprocated at all.
I thought the reason for the case that is in front of the ZBA right now is just strictly the text amendment that the county board has sent back for the ZBA to review. Is that correct? Just the text amendment. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just the green areas of the text amendment.
Then why would we have to go back into the decisions that they had made prior to the text amendment that we brought back to?
First of all, I don't think it's clear cut if it can be introduced.
Okay.
Mrs. Huesman was having that checked out. She didn't have an answer yet. There's different sides. I don't think she's not sure. She's not sure it should be either. If it can be, anybody's got a right in the county. The ZBA has to hear everybody when they hold their zoning case. So, anybody can get up and speak.
Isn't the testifying, Bob, to be towards the case that they are currently hearing, which would be the text amendment? I'm just trying to understand.
But
Well,
it doesn't matter until
we think the same thing, but when we're at that ZBA meeting, Joan is in charge of the meeting.
whatever happens,
She doesn't even listen to her
it's going
attorney.
to. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. If they just, if that's the way they wanna handle it, we'll just have a few more meetings.
You more.
Huh? I don't know. More.
They're gonna drag it out as far as they can.
Maybe
Because
they
they're
will.
nice thing now.
But,
You
we
we're
don't
not-
wanna,
We're not granting a permit for a windmill.
we don't wanna hurry the
We're
ZBA up.
just a piece of paper
Give them,
We're trying to set up the
that's been
guidelines.
negotiated
Trying to
pretty
see-
much through everybody, evidently everybody but the ZBA.
well, that's what they're set up to do.
Well, no, it's already went through then.
No, this text amendment hasn't, Steve. That's what's before them now, is this text amendment.
Okay.
Basically,
And they
don't,
have to make sure that it's following the ordinances of Livingston County, as we have
It's
said.
very thorough.
And they're thorough. They take, I think they take their job seriously. No, I don't always agree with them, but I respect the job they're trying to do, and I think we need to, we need to move on with it and see what happens
Well,
Monday night.
we need to move on.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we just need to move it on, and, we've spent
I mean, I agree with you to a point that everybody has their time and place to speak, as long as it's not rambling about stuff that really doesn't mean anything.
well,
In the past, and I hate to go back to McLean County, we had gravel pit. They had samples of soil, they had samples of dirt, they had gravel. This is where this gravel's gonna come from. I mean, you gotta have some facts. You can't just get up there and say, well, I heard or I read.
this is kind of a reason that your committee, the Ag and Zoning Committee, would prefer a facilitator, acting in that position. ZBA still, they still vote,
Oh, yeah.
but the facilitator runs the meeting. And then you take the personal issues, possibly, out of it a little bit. It might make it a little cleaner. But the only thing.
Facilitator, moderator, whatever,
Well,
somebody that's.
The only thing a facilitator will do, and will have been for, is wind farms and possibly solar farms. And theoretically, I think, once this text amendment is over with, should end any discussion of wind farms in Livingston County because of the way it's been voted on by the public. And that's what I think we have to try to treat, you know. So I think we just gotta follow it through.
I don't think this Gerber is gonna say anything that we haven't heard before.
No, but
Okay,
But why?
you got your,
If I hit and listen to it again.
you got your update on that.
It's pretty.
The second meeting, they do have a second meeting plan, which would be the regular October meeting, which would be October 5th, so you need to have your calendars cleared.
so will that be on wind farms or will that be your regular meeting?
I think I can clear and just do it on whenever.
Oh,
I mean, I might have a carryover, but we do wind.
well, hopefully,
We do wind under that night too.
hopefully that'll be a or
Closing and.
a close, or no, for
Discussing.
them making up their mind.
Finding,
That might be,
finding
October
discussion.
October 5th might be
7
the
o'clock.
soonest that they're gonna do this then, you think? That'll be the soonest.
For a decision, for findings, right?
And back to September 18th, Chuck
Yeah.
or Darrell, are they speaking with Graymont Co-op?
They're-
Are they starting the meeting with them if the permits are in?
Yeah, we'll start with Graymont Co-op.
Okay, okay.
That's on the 5th or the 18th?
18.
That's at 7:30 or 7?
7:30.
You start with Graymont at 7:30.
On April 5th.
No,
No, not April.
18.
So,
September 18th.
Go that far out.
September 18th.
Graymont
April
was
5th
a
might be realistic.
continued case too.
Are they doing wind farm on September 18th or no?
Then they'll get another wind farm. Graymont should go fairly quickly.
So
They have
September
the
18th, they're gonna have one too, then, no?
Yeah, that's the next one.
I had several questions about the wells and moving it, moving the tanks.
For leisure.
Can you please put somewhere else?
State, the state government permit is what it comes down to.
Okay. Bill pays ordinance.
Okay, that's your next handout. This is again, third, fourth month we looked at this. Hope I didn't get too convoluted for you. What I simply did was, not simply, but what I did do, is I took the key ordinance, which was more detailed, and I took the proposed one, which was from Mr. Ritter, which is based on the Effingham County one. And what I'm looking at doing, since the key had one more detail, is to, number one, we'd have to recodify the sections and all that stuff, but just basically leave it there. To go to the second page, going down under the response authority, see, I am proposing to take out sections as far as the sheriff kind of being authorized, etc. And then I gave you a sheet that has the new language, which is 1, 2. If you look here, it's got a 1 there, it's got a 2 there, and a 3 there. So the language would be crossed out and then replaced with the county or its agents may have the authority under 1 and 2. And then number 3, the county or its agents may assist in facilitating reporting of. The first 2 is that it kind of gives it a more broader aspect as far as they just had the sheriff of the county, Kankakee County authorized representative and shall have the authority. So I took the shall out and put may in.
Why do you want may instead of shall, Chuck?
Because frequently if there is a, like if there's a hazardous material spill, the last one, I actually ended up getting reports that they're reporting to the state. The last one that was reported was the train going through Pontiac, seeing a restaurant throw their gray wash water onto the railroad gravel bed. And the railroad called that as being a hazardous material spill to
Okay.
do that. So I really don't think that's too terribly important, to be quite
Yes.
honest about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter as to a lot of these spills are not that, the majority of them are not that big of a deal. I mean, if they have an anhydrous ammonia leak on a farm, I get the report 48 hours later, it's done, it's taken care of. I mean, never hear about it, so that's why it's that way. I think it's more of
Okay.
You know, it's something that, you know, a lot of times the minor ones you're not gonna hear about, so we put may instead of shall, because, and that's real, real particular with number 3, because they're saying that in that case, that the sheriff or somebody had to notify, should notify all these agencies within 24 hours. Well, that's if you, if
I'm notified.
Bob Young are driving down the road and you have your tanker spill, well, that's your responsibility or your company's responsibility to report it. So that's why I say we can help facilitate it, say, hey, you need to call 1-800-276-0536,
Okay.
whatever the number is, and then you need to report it, so.
I guess on that, I'm a little bit concerned that may doesn't have near the teeth that shall has in it. I like shall better because I'm a little bit concerned, I mean, may's kind of,
But if we don't know about it, how can we report it? And it's not our responsibility to do it. It's not written into the regulations that if you have a spill, the spiller is the one supposed to be calling the state. And then they're the ones that are supposed, you know.
so if the spiller doesn't call and it goes unseen, what do we do then?
If it's seen, as I say, facilitated is I can go to Joe, whoever did it, and say, you need to do this. If they don't do it, I can do it. It's not saying that I wouldn't do it. I can do it. If you don't.
Maybe shall after notified? You know, because if you aren't notified, if you don't know about it, you can't react 24 hours after the spill occurred unless you know about it.
Well, it's like a farmer hauling manure. If they get one over on the road, we better be calling, huh?
You mean you haven't been?
Yeah, I'm gonna start. So that's good.
I wondered if you could have a conversation.
It may seem
with
kind of
him.
iffy unless you could put something in there that would
Yeah.
would say, you know, like after you're notified, after you're aware of it. You certainly can't react within 24 hours until you're made aware of it.
Shall confirm. How about if we put shall confirm that the proper notifications have been made?
I mean, I know I'm splitting hairs, Chuck, but shall just seems like it's got a little bit more
Oh, definitely.
than may to it, and
But I understand what Chuck said.
yeah, no, I'm believe me, I'm with
I
you.
mean, if it's taken care of, it needs to be reported.
Shall confirm that the proper notifications have been made. That's kind of a compromise. How about that?
Okay. Works for me.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then on the 3rd page of the Key County one, I was looking at taking the Effingham or proposed Livingston County one and putting that language in ours too, other than in the proposed one, which was the last bullet point for Effingham, Livingston. The county area agents may direct the cleanup and containment at its discretion in the interest of the public safety reopening. I was thinking of putting that first, either at the top of that page, or I was thinking about moving it back to that previous page under, after number 1, or where it says responsibility, where it can, you know, it has, you know, may respond or shall respond or whatever to, you know, upon notification. We'll work on that. Affecting public water, yeah, authority does, but and then maybe it's better to put in that at that place, because then it's somebody direct cleanup. Maybe that's a better place to put that. I'm trying to make everybody happy here to make all this work.
Get it in the sequence that would happen.
In the sequence, it's a better sequence than that. And then number 5, where it makes reference to the statutory stuff and fees, I put that, you know, leading off under E, costs and penalties, or put it in there to make it fit in there to make it work. So that way we're using what's proposed to us, was a longer one, more detailed one, editing it, put them all together and coming up with something that hopefully works for everybody. I'm looking at that.
Sounds good.
So we'll redraft it that way and get it back to you to
Okay.
look at it that way, maybe vote it, so you can have ideas.
Yep. Any other issues, I asked Chuck to, I want you to see this Peyton property over by Woodland School. And the pictures try to do it justice, but I guess you don't, it's hard to really fathom how messy that is, how bad it is. It's just, and the pallets that you see there, I think they are kind of trying to run a pallet return business, but the camper has tarp over it. The car is virtually junk there. They're infringing on the neighbor's property.
This gravel lane that we see right here, this is a public road?
No, it's a private road.
Private road.
Okay.
There's some pretty nice houses back in here. This is not the same as the other homes. Basically, the only one that looks near this is right to the south of it. The next house to it is just kind of growed up in weeds, but don't have near the trash and stuff around it that this one does.
It started out as a summer cabin area and woodland area many decades ago, and the summer cabins evolved into being more permanent residences as time went by. And the state attorney has filed a public nuisance complaint charge in regards to this, and they do have a court date at the end, in the last week of this month in regards to it.
So the state's attorney has filed, they will be going to court at the end of the month?
Yes.
What's the picture with harvest orders and stuff in?
That's my next one.
Okay. It's tied to that or what?
No,
Well, and the other one with the silos, that's just the one I mentioned, that's just north of the landfill, north and the east of the landfill. You can see those silos. It looks like a fairly, if you get back far enough, looks like a fairly nice farm operation. But if you get up there close, you see a lot of junk vehicles around. So it's fenced off. And when I went by there, about where, let's see which, in front of the barn, there was a pile that was probably 10 feet high.
no, higher than that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
garbage
Yeah.
that was,
This pile you see in this photo here was
their garbage truck comes in there and dumps.
probably 20 feet tall, so.
Right, comes in there and dumps, and then they take one of those garbage
Sure.
semis and fill it up and take it to a landfill. They don't take it to Livingston County landfill because Livingston County landfill kicked them out because they weren't paying their tipping fees. So they take it to another landfill somewhere. But you can see in the other picture on the other side, some garbage back there, but it's not near what was there when I saw it.
Well, is that legal for them to dump up there?
No, they have a court appearance on,
That's
I think on the 15th, and it's not the county, it's the state, it's the Attorney General, they're going after environmental regulations on them. I believe they got a $6,000 fine pending.
Per day, is that not correct?
I don't know how they're gonna, it's 4 $1,500 fines, and I don't know how they're gonna roll it. There's 4 different
And that's-
violations.
That's this September 15th?
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't need to do any action at all on this.
Well, not now, but we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens with the whole thing.
Just thought you should know what they look like. I know that when,
Drove past it several times, I never got it.
well, I know at Highway, when Clay started giving us pictures of the culverts and the bridges and things that, you know, there's a crack here and such. It was much easier when you had a picture that showed the crack, and showed just what it looked like.
You guys got a lot of comments tonight?
Public comment. Hi, Roger. You have a comment? It's a,
We've dealt with trash before.
thanks for coming.
I have no bills.
No bills?
There's no report on litigation.
Anything, John? Motion to adjourn. Justin?
I'll second.
Steve?
You even spell my name right. Aye.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Seven.
That's it.
Yeah, you did it.
Well,
I think that-